All right, welcome back. We are looking at the DeepSeek Harness. It was released a few days ago, well, more than a week ago now. I'm a little bit late here, but it's all the buzz. It's getting a ton of traction on GitHub, as well as a lot of people are talking about how it's really good and really transparent and it's very customizable. So I'm really interested in taking like an initial glance at it and how it might work in my current config. We will be applying Qwen's 3.8 27B model as a local AI. You can obviously hook it up to DeepSeek's own cloud-based system, or you can use API keys through like Anthropic or OpenAI, or you can even do like aggregators like OpenRouter and things like that. However, I want to use it to do some more testing on Qwen 3.8 27B. So in this video, we're going to configure DeepSeek Harness. We're also going to configure it pointing to my Ollama build as well as Unsloth as well. So this is going to be kind of a tutorial sort of video running through some commands in case you want to do the same and follow along. It should be a pretty quick video. I'm not going to do an in-depth review on the harness because I have very little hands-on time, and this is me configuring it, setting it up for local AI, and kind of running with it and see how it goes. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share screen here real quick. All right, so here's the actual website from DeepSeek themselves. Here's the kind of the announcement. And one of the things you see right on top, everything's a plugin. And as I was doing my basic research for this video, that seems to be the case. Not just plugins themselves, but the actual harness can be customized quite a bit. There's also skills and everything kind of that you expect from a good harness with like infinite levels of customizability. So there's like a bunch of little basic information here. It talks about plugins, how everything is traceable, which I'm really excited for and I'm really looking to dive into because I do a lot of benchmarking and I think this would help kind of debug some things that go wrong. There's also multiple runtime modes. You get kind of the standard, code, minimal, and creator mode, and we'll talk about these when we see them. And there's a quick little video, and then it tells you how to actually get started. I'm going to go ahead and go to the GitHub page now and had it open already, but let's reopen it here. As you can see, it currently has 175,000 stars, which is just crazy. Not signed in. Oh, it's a private browser, so I can't give it a star, but I would if I could. Let's go ahead and go down here to the instructions. There's two ways to run this. You can run it directly on Node.js with this one command. I'm going to go ahead and run it from source, and let me go ahead and jump over my terminal, and I will record the screen as I do that. All right, so here's the terminal. It's kind of cut off on top, but we are in a projects folder here. We're going to go ahead and run the git command to grab the repo. And it should be fairly quick. I grabbed this one before and then I just purged the directory to kind of do this hands-on in the video. Great, let's go ahead and CD into that repo. I'm pretty sure it's just a folder. Yep, let's go ahead and CD into that. And then let's go ahead and do the install. And I'll go ahead and, yep, that was quick. I didn't even have to pause. Let's go ahead and run. And if this takes a while, I'll pause it and come back to the video. All right, not too bad. Took a minute or so. After the build, let's go ahead and run the app. So here's the command, and we should get a port and a browser link. So it's running on this URL here. Let's go ahead and grab it. Oops, I ended up closing it. Let's go ahead and grab that command again. Forget you gotta do Control-Shift-Copy on here. It's a habit here that I gotta get used to. Let's go ahead and check out the browser. Should be running now. All right, so we went ahead and visited the provided port number here, and I brought this screen. Actually brought a warning screen here that it is in essentially in preview mode, that things will change, things will break. So I'm sure as they develop and enhance this harness more, configurations that people are currently implemented will have to be refined and rebuilt and all that fun stuff, especially with plugins and things like that. So just gives you that disclaimer. And then we get here asking us to provide a API key for DeepSeek. I do have one, but I'm going to go ahead and skip this because this video is specifically for local AI only. So I'll configure this later. And this is pretty much it. DSH local build gives me a code here. Let's take a look and see the settings, general, workspace right, default permissions, language. You got different appearances here. Oh, nice, queue behavior. So this is like very Codex, Claude Code kind of similarities. You can either queue, which means that whenever you type a command, it essentially waits for the currently running prompt to finish and then allows you to kind of queue stuff up. Steer means that as it's running, you can tell it and it will kind of adjust on the fly. So that's pretty nice. We will be visiting this page here shortly. This is how to configure the DeepSeek API key as well as add providers. And there's all the popular providers. So you got Minimax, we got Open Router, you got Qwen, you got all the GLMs, you got pretty much everything on here. That's pretty nice. And then there's also a custom provider, which is how you configure the local AI models. So we'll probably be spending some time here. I'm just gonna go ahead and just do a quick first glance at this because this is me looking at it. Agent loops, that's nice. You can customize how many loops the agents actually do. So this is kind of one of the benefits right off the bat. The customizability and the insight you get into looking at an open source harness. And I don't even know if open source is the right word, but I guess the word is customizable harness. Being able to see this is really nice. Web search. So looks like web search is not provided by default. When we looked at the Unsloth Studio, Unsloth Desktop, there was search built in. So it seems like we will need to provide either an API key, most likely through Firecrawl or through DeepSeek as a search provider. But I'm sure there's ways around this, probably like a skill or something, but we'll take a look at that later. And here's all the presets. We got standard mode, PTC mode, minimal mode, and creator mode. And then you can even draft and build your own custom ones. Looks like we can actually look at the YAML file and it popped up on my screen, just in my, VS Code over here. So can I change this live? I'm gonna change it to light mode and see if it takes effect. Oh, nice. So this is one of the things I was reading about, that a lot of the changes you can make are on the fly, also known as hotfixes. So let me go ahead and share this screen real quick so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so here's the YAML file that popped up when I clicked that open setting button. There is a preference here for light mode. Well, it said system. So what I had to do is I saved this file, and then if we go back to the web browser, you see it is currently system. So if I do light mode and save this prompt without actually reloading any commands in the terminal, it takes effect immediately. So that's nice. I'm sure there's some plugins or some deep embedded system configs that will require an actual terminal restart. However, being able to do things on the fly like this is pretty nice. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump back into reviewing this. So let me just change this back to system, which is dark. Can we just type in dark here? Nice. So it's set to dark mode. Great. Close out of that and go back to the configurations here. Obviously, I have no models running, so I can't send anything anywhere. I don't have any workspaces or directories configured. So let's first do the configuration for Ollama. I have an Ollama server currently running on my system itself. This is where machines and configurations may differ. I'm running a Linux Cache OS right now. I ran this standard core command to install Ollama, and then I went ahead and set it up as a system service, so it persists through restarts. If you have like Mac OS and you did via brew, you may need to have the app running in order for this to work. Same thing with Windows. If you installed it via the download button on their website, then you have to make sure it kind of starts up when Windows boots, or start up when you want to use it. So this is where it may differ. Mine's always running because I like sending stuff to Ollama randomly. And that's why we're going to do this first, because I don't have to do any additional servers or setup to get this working. So yeah, let's go back to the browser. Well, let's go to the terminal first just to confirm that Ollama is indeed running. So let me just jump back here and I'll open up a new tab. We're still in the folder. It doesn't really matter. Let's go and just run this. This will make sure, yep, it is currently running and my models are there. So now that we've confirmed that, let's go ahead and let's just try adding the config and see if we can get it to work. Settings, models, let's do a custom provider. We'll name it Ollama local. Display name, I guess we can do it in brackets here. Ollama, just do Ollama local again. Base URL, that one was pointed to this port. So it's 127.0.0.1, and then the port for Ollama, which for the most part is the same for most people. So it's 11434v1. And then AI protocol, we have OpenAI, Response, Anthropic. We're going to use OpenAI's one. It does not have a key, so I'm going to leave that blank. Let's go ahead and add a model. We can add all of our models, but I'm just going to go ahead and do Qwen 3.827b. That's what I currently have configured and downloaded on there. This is the 4-bit quantization that comes by default. And I'll share a model card here after I finish this. And let's hit create provider. And I think that's it, right? If it's that simple, let me go ahead and give it a command and see if it works. So let's go ahead and start a new session here. Do we have to choose a workspace? Let me go ahead and create a directory real quick. Okay, let's back out of this directory and just make a directory called DSH for DeepSeek Harness test. CD into that. And there's nothing in here. So I'm going to give it that directory. So let's go back to the terminal here, or back to the browser. Let's choose a workspace. A window popped up, allow me to choose this. Let me just navigate over to projects, test. Okay, now that's selected. Standard, PTC mode, minimal, and creator mode. It's defaulting to Flash. Let's see if we can select our Ollama. We can. Gives me ability to read, workspace write, and full access. So there's nothing in there right now, but let's go ahead and say what is in this directory. All right, we're getting an error here. And this is me doing it live, so we're learning as we go here. It says this turn failed, no API key. Let me take a look and do some quick research and I'll be right back. All right, let's try this. I noticed here it says model ID. So if we look back in the terminal, I ran Ollama list command and I have the ID. So I'm gonna try plugging that in and see if that works. So plugging that is here, hit apply. Can we just resend this? Nope, send the directory. Nope, still failing. All right, let me do some quick searching and then I'll be right back for the answer. Okay, I tried both the actual model name as well as the ID and it's not working. One forum said to click this button to fetch available models. So I'm going to try doing that and it's adding them. So before I do that, let me delete this one, fetch models, add selected. And that's what I had before. Let me just hit apply and see if that fixes it. Again, this is in preview, so it might be doing something weird. But let's give it a try here. You there? Nope, still getting error. What if I do a new session? Make sure the models are showing up. So my local models are here. Click on it again, send it. What's going on here? So let me go look through the forums again. All right, so figured it out. And turns out that it was really wanting an API key. So it pulled the models, fetched them correctly. This API model cannot be left blank. So I just typed in anything, hit apply, close it out. Go and stop this because it's going to load a new session. Let's go ahead and ask it what's in the directory. And we can see it running now. So yeah, that was odd. So if you are running into the same issue where the Ollama is causing those errors that we saw over here, so we got an API AI error, and we also tried unknown model error. It's very particular about what needs to be set up for the Ollama to work. So you need to have an API key, even if you're not using one in Ollama. You need to have the right base URL, and then I just used the fetch, and it added all the names, not the IDs. It does not need the IDs; it needs the actual names of them. But yeah, it's currently working and we're seeing some of the first kind of features of it, which it's doing the context injection, the think, the bash command, which is the path, the glob, don't know what that is. And then, yeah, this is directory is empty. Yeah, so blank workspace, ready to work. Awesome. Let's take a look at the trajectory real quick because this is what I was excited for. We have the user, which is me, the system prompt itself here, which is really interesting. We got the assistant, bash command, and then the assistants again. So pretty cool. Obviously, this is a very basic example. I want to mess with this a little more, but for now, I think we consider this a success. Do we have any statistics here? Yeah, we got a time, 30-second run, tokens per second. That's pretty cool. New conversation, good response, bad response. And there's also session logs. We can just download it straight to zip. That's pretty nice. Can we do it here as well? Yeah, we can. So looks like this is the same thing. Where is it downloading it? Zip file. I may have to take a look at that later. But yeah, let's go ahead and configure Unsloth next and figure out how we get that working on the DeepSeek Harness. All right, so obviously we're going to need to configure in the same place. However, I don't have an Unsloth service running or configured on this system build. So this is kind of a scenario that, again, might differ from person to person. So I need to start up the server and run it in the background. So let me pull up the terminal and let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, here's our folder. Doesn't matter where this runs. Here's the command we're doing. We're doing an Unsloth run with the model pass through Qwen 3.827b gguf. We're giving it the variant, which is the Q4 quantization, passing API only, disable tools, giving it port 8899, and then we are giving it a chat template for enable thinking true and reasoning effort medium. So when you're using like cloud-based models like Qwen's cloud or DeepSeek cloud or Anthropic API keys, you can kind of toggle that in the harness itself. In my case, I'm going to run the server with that reasoning effort preset. One, because I want to test medium reasoning and some of my kind of future benchmarks. And two, I want to control that here. There's probably ways to do this differently. However, this is kind of my way of doing it for now to make sure this works. So you're going to notice a few things here. It's obviously going to run the service, and it's also going to provide us an API key. I'm going to go ahead and show this on the screen now because I plan to delete this from the database, and I will give those commands here shortly, or probably leave them in the video or do them after the video. Here's my current API key. We're going to need this for DeepSeek Harness as well as to test the endpoint to make sure it's running. So here it is, Unsloth, and then a bunch of string numbers. I'm going to copy that into a clipboard and set aside. So just give me a second. And then there is a curl command you can run that will let us test to make sure that indeed we can access that endpoint. So I'm going to open up a new tab here, paste it here. Here's where the service is running V1 models similar to Ollama. Give it the authorization and then just confirm. And yeah, we see the ID and we're running this one specifically. So yeah, all my models are currently there. Great. Let's go ahead and go back to the terminal. So one thing to know is that this is a service that's running and so is this, right? So if we kill DeepSeek Harness or in this case, Unsloth, it will break something. So just kind of note that these terminals have to stay open for those that kind of aren't aware of that. But yeah, let me go ahead and open up the browser once again. And let's go to the config and let's go ahead and add this. So this is my first time doing this, so I want to make sure we can get it to work. In terms of provider ID, we're going to go ahead and give it Unsloth, display name, we'll just do the same. Base URL, we saw that when we did the command. I'll go ahead and just copy it here. It's going to be this command. We actually don't need models after that. We can just do v1. Same one, OpenAI completion, and we do need the API key in this one. So let me copy that from clipboard. And again, I'm going to be hiding this later or deleting it and showing you how to do that. Can we do fetch models? Sweet. That makes it easy. Add it. Seems to be doing it right. This is the one we want. Let's go ahead, create provider, and then let's start a new session, see how that looks. Let's see, drop down, model, bunch of, here we go, Unsloth. Do that, and let's ask it what's in the directory, and let's see if it works. Right off the bat, seems promising. While that's running, I'm going to take a look at some of these buttons here. So we have commands, compact, export, feedback, goal. That's nice. Permissions, plan. So everything you would kind of expect from a harness. We have write, read, workspace write, full access. I assume that's full system access. What else do we see here? Is there any configurations for this? What else can we edit? We can't pass through anything else. So yeah, came back, context injection, think, glob, think, bash commands. I ran ls-la, think, and then it told me it was empty. So great, this is working. It did it about 16 tokens per second, which is what I'm currently getting on a Q4 quantization in my current unified memory rig. It's 128 gigabytes Ryzen Strix Halo, not the fastest. However, I'm gonna go ahead and create a quick demo project here and let this run. Actually, let's do that now. Let's give it a goal. Let's do create a to-do list to-do-ist clone, simple, lightweight, local app, HTML page. Do we want HTML? We probably need some kind of light database, right? SQL, light DB. single user mobile friendly. It's just a test to make sure this is working. And let's see what it does. I'm curious. So you can see the tokens per second is not the greatest, but it's doing a good job. It's generating tokens, it's reading context. We have the 262,000 context window. I like the breakdown of stuff. That's really cool. Trajectory, is this live or no? Nope, this was the previous one. So I guess we have to finish it to see the trajectory. Let me inspect the environment. And yeah, I'm gonna let this run in the background. And I'll come back, see what I ended up with. And then after that, we'll provide some final thoughts, show you how to clear the API token. Well, not the API token, well, I guess there's an API token for Unsloth in order to delete that from history so that it doesn't get leaked. Well, in theory, every single time that you run Unsloth run, it does generate a new API token. However, subsequent runs can use previous API tokens. They're never actually purged. So doing some quick review, you do have to deactivate those tokens. And since I shared that in this video, even though this is a local AI rig, I still want to do that and deprecate those active tokens. So yeah, I'm gonna let this run in the background and I'll be back and show you the results. So while that's running, it's currently been about only 3 minutes. I wanted to take a look here at the plugin section because I'm really curious if I was able to search what Todoist actually looks like. It might have some context from the training, but I was curious if it has any like search plugins. And here's the list, and it looks like there's no like enable, disable toggle. So you'll need to either tell an agent to go disable that inside of the config, or you'll need to disable that in a YAML file of some sort. But it looks like these are all out-of-box plugins, which are pretty great that this comes with all of these supported. And just doing some quick research, there's a ton of plugins being created. It looks like there's an entire ecosystem built around this. And obviously there's the idea of the risk of you grabbing plugins from unknown GitHub pages and installing it on your local harness where you have local AI, where things can be sensitive. Obviously, there's a huge security risk. This is not as polished as a security environment as you would if you were using kind of Anthropics or OpenAI's or any of the other kind of harness providers, frontier model providers have, right? There's not as much scrutiny or not enough people doing that kind of work on them. So again, kind of like the Wild West out there. This gives me very similar vibes to when OpenClaw came out, where people were building add-ons and skills and all these different things to do agentic work, and it was causing people's API keys to get hacked and all sorts of messes. But it has a similar vibe, but it seems like you can create a lot of your own plugins. Reading up on some of the research, there is modes that you can pass through and allow it to essentially funnel like creator mode, which allows you to build custom skills, custom plugins, things like that that you can kind of nest in the system that you built, that you are vetting, that you kind of customize. So that's pretty cool. Again, I'm just using standard mode in my current config. I haven't touched PTC, which seems to be more like a multi-step process that you want to contain in a single like TypeScript program. So kind of envision a bunch of skills and tools being used, kind of compressed into a single kind of run. If you have repetitive tasks, which seems pretty cool. Minimal mode, which is just things sounds like it is what it sounds like. And then creator mode again seems to be for creating custom agent presets. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I have to obviously test all this and mess around, and I'll probably make another video after I use this for a little bit. I'm really curious to see how this Qwen 3.827b runs on my system. It's been running for 6 minutes now, so I'm just gonna come back to the video and wrap up the video with a quick demo of what this put out, and then I will show you how to remove the API keys and some final thoughts. All right, we'll come back in a little bit. All right, we're back. Looks like it took about 30 minutes or so. Just saw the timestamp and then it went away. Looks like the background task is running because the server's running. But yeah, let's take a look and see what it actually created. So here's the output after it did quite a few things. It built the back end, then it did the front end, then it did end-to-end testing, then it found some errors, went back and fixed those errors. And then it went ahead, did some more verification, and then it went ahead and cleared the database, and then it said it's now live. So there's an app.py, there's a README, there's a database, here's how to run it. the verification it did against a live server, and then worth reviewing steps. So let's take a look. Copied the URL here. Let's open it up in a new tab. That's not the right URL. Let's grab localhost IP. Nice. So this is definitely inspiration from Todoist. Has inbox today, upcoming completed, personal projects and work projects. Let's create a task. Next 3. Can we drag? We can drag. We can mark it as done. It does go to completed. Can we edit it? Nice. Adding notes. Can we get a priority? Let's give it urgent. Wish this was opposite, but not bad. Dates work. Nice. Must enter valid date and time. So I have to enter a time. Nice. And then we have a little icon here. Can quickly toggle it. Not bad. Pretty good. If we refresh, does it stay? Yep, it stays because it's running to the database. Can we delete? And then to do this, if you add it today, so maybe some time zone issues here. Let's delete it, see what happens. Nice. Confirmation. Can we add a new project? Can we edit it after? No. So obviously it's lacking some features to be a full Todoist clone, but this is technically functional. Like this worked within 30 minutes. We have a working localhost app that has a database and is running via Python script, so not bad. So yeah, overall first impressions, the DeepSeek Harness works well. I do like the trajectory stuff that it's doing. We can see specifically the request, what tools it's calling, and really go into details on both summary, payload, results, schema, and the timing. So I think this is going to be really nice in terms of being able to download the entire file and then doing some analysis for benchmarking. I think this is where the big win is for me. I'm not sure if I'm going to get too much into the custom plugins or maybe the custom modes and all that, but this is very early days, and I'm sure this will change quite a bit. I'm very familiar with using Pi, Open Code, Hermes, all them kind of style harnesses that you can kind of use locally. And this is just, I think, a better version of that. Like, I know that OpenWebUI has a bunch of these features, but the customization capability of this is just really endless. So I'm sure as I do more of these benchmarking videos, do more local AI stuff, maybe bring in some open router models and things like that, I'll be able to run better comparisons. We can just download the entire log and then be able to put that through some kind of AI model and get better results, better timings, and really understand how we can run some of the more complex benchmarks without having to do just one-shot builds. So yeah, I think that's first impressions. Hopefully you learned something. Go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you want to watch more. Next video, I'll probably be jumping into maybe some more features on this. There's also a bunch of new local AI models that came out that I want to test and put against Qwen 3.8 27B. It still seems like there's a lot more investigation, a lot more stuff to do there, but I don't want to make an entire channel based on a single AI model. But yeah, thanks for joining, and I'll catch you all later. All right, doing a quick edit on the video, and I realized that I never posted the command to deactivate the API key. So the command will be linked in the description. I'll go ahead and run it now so you can see it working. This goes into the database and sets it to disactivated. Run that, and then we go ahead and run this curl command, and we get a 401. So that's how you do it. If you want to deactivate, I'm going to go ahead and completely wipe this Unsloth build completely and rebuild it so that I have no stored keys here, and just to be safe. But yeah, just wanted to follow up with that because I did mention in the video I never actually did it. So now that API key that was shared in the video is no longer usable. If we want to go take a look here at the browser, we should see it now broken as well. So let's take a look here and tell it kill background. We should get an error here. Yep, we get invalid key. Great, just want to confirm that. So I suspect that since the API key gets stored inside of the config and subsequent runs create a new key, but the previous ones stay active, that you'll only have to update the actual model API key once, at least the current config. You'll only have to update this once, since the previous keys, even if new ones generated with that unsloth run command, they still technically work unless you specifically deactivate. So I suspect that this configuration is just done once. So you would essentially launch Unsloth run with your model parameters, connect it, and then whenever you need to rerun it or use the DeepSeek Harness, you would run that in the terminal as well as the Unsloth run command, and then just get it rocking and rolling. So not too difficult. I'm sure there's better ways to configure Unsloth server to run at all times, as well as the DeepSeek Harness. But for my testing, this is good enough for now. And yeah, leave it at that. Thanks for watching. All right, have a good one.